Years ago, I was working for a construction company that was trying to get customers excited about building modernist-style homes made from steel-framed modules. I had been learning how to fabricate custom doors and windows from a skilled welder. This welder was an amazing designer, but he also had a weakness for a certain substance. I was lucky the welder finished teaching me how to weld before the expo, because his addiction was taking over, and he wasn't much help with the fabrication of the booth, which was a modernist-style steel sculpture designed to show off our designs at the housing expo. Our boss was going to meet with a wealthy client who was planning to build a new, modern-style house right on the ocean. Our foreman knew this wealthy client and had suggested that he contact our boss and consider us for the job. Just by coincidence, the foreman actually lived less than a block away from the future job site, so if the deal went through, he would be able to walk to work instead of sitting in traffic. Unfortunately, our boss was away from the booth when the client showed up, and the welder was itching to take over the sales pitch. The client was a short, timid, soft-spoken man who started asking polite questions about our company. Were we experienced with oceanfront homes? How would our materials hold up near the ocean? I tried to respond to the client, but the welder just could not contain his excitement. The welder's eyes flashed with enthusiasm. He got right in the client's face and started trying to impress him by telling him about how big the steel beams were on a previous job. He explained how we hot dip galvanized everything to make it resist rust. My coworker and I stood transfixed, unable to get a word in and unsure of what to do. As the welder talked, he got louder and louder and closer to the client. The client looked more and more fearful with each passing second. At first he leaned back a bit to get some distance, but the welder just moved in closer and closer. The client began taking evasive steps backward, trying to retreat to safety. His eyes were wide with terror, and he began to visibly shake as though he was sure the welder might attack him at any moment. But the welder followed him and continued enthusiastically telling his story. Soon they were nearly 10 feet away from the booth, and the welder kept going on and getting louder and more in the client's face with every sentence. Finally, he reached a crescendo saying, "We built the entire frame at the wrong height." Suddenly he leaned forward and stomped his foot loudly and shouted, $60,000 mistake! Then he stared, unblinking, an inch away from the client's face. There was a pause while they just stared at each other. The client excused himself and left in a hurry. The welder had a look of supreme satisfaction. He knew he had nailed it. Needless to say, we never heard from that client again.